So what is this going to allow Dark Table to become, hopefully?
I mean, it's ironic because it's called Dream Catalyst, but it really could be the catalyst that Dark Table needed to get to the next level.
Welcome back, everybody. Career Insights. We have a different episode today because if you recall, back at episode 2, we talked with Kyle, who is a game developer for Dunamai, and he's been working on this game, Dark Table, and we went through a lot of that. Well, we have some exciting news today. We're going to be updated with Kyle on what's going on with Dark Table, and just a lot of exciting news. So we're going to go ahead and get into it, and we're going to welcome Kyle back. Kyle, how you doing?
Good. It feels like it's been like years since we did the last podcast.
This was, I think, I want to say this was like in July of last year.
I know.
As crazy as that is. July of last year, we were doing this, and yeah, man, but you've got a lot of news to talk about today.
Yeah, a lot has happened.
All right, so since the last time you were here, there's been quite a few significant changes that are happening. You've had I don't know how to say this right, but it was you have a partnership, but it's kind of involves multiple different entities or companies or so. So why don't you go ahead and explain that?
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. we got into an accelerator program called Dream Catalyst. And so it's basically a partnership between us, Somnia, and Uprising Labs. And what that is Somnia is a brand new crypto chain, high performance, EVM based, like 1 million TPS. So it's a very fast chain.
TPS being transactions per second. Okay.
Yeah. So fast chain, super cheap. The whole intent was they want to be able to bring more data on chain for the games and potentially have fully on chain games. That's their vision.
Yeah.
And so that allows people to enable a lot more stuff on the chain. But then they partnered with Uprising for this program, which is a game publisher. And so they were traditionally
Nice.
Web 2. Then they came into the Web 3 world as well. And so they're kind of this hybrid that they want to provide this like mentorship and potentially publish some of the games to bring them into Web 3 and help them along the way, do their go-to-market strategy, all this stuff. So they came together and started this Dream Catalyst program, and it's a $10 million program where they basically create this accelerator, bring in a bunch of games to Dream Catalyst, and they provide them the support to get them launched. And so it's funding, it's mentorship, it's tools, it's, different partnerships between other companies, and it's all just to help that game grow and then have a really good go-to-market strategy, some marketing support, and have a solid launch. And so that's what we got into.
So how did this come about? This has been something that's taken quite some time because I remember the last time you were here, like there's been, it really came down to like finding somebody that believed in the game and kind of pursuing that funding route. I remember we were talking about funding. So like, how did you get to this point?
So, it's like it always is networking, right? So we were talking with Third Web, and they build an infrastructure for Web3 that is basically it's all back-end wallets. And so they create this service that makes it super easy to integrate any EVM chain into a game. It's an awesome service. But we figured out a way to build that into the collectible system we wanted to make for Dark Table. And we were talking with them and we were saying, hey, we need a little bit of funding to get to that polish that we want to get to, but we want to use your stuff as well. Like it's ideal for our scenario. And then they ended up having a contact with Uprising for this. They knew this accelerator was happening, and it sounds like there were some feelers going out for, how can we find games for this program?
That's cool.
And so Third Web hooked us up and they said, hey, they told Uprising, call these guys, have a chat or whatever. And so we had a call, and it ended up being a very long call. And there was, a lot of interest, and it was obvious that they could see the value in Dark Table and what it can be. And so it was nice to actually get somebody that cared for once.
Nice.
We've had other calls with other potential funding avenues and VCs and all this stuff, but it was always, how much money do you need? Mm-hmm. That was like that was the conversation, and it's like, but don't you care why we're building this game? Don't you care what our strategy is for monetization and what the actual game mechanics are and our hook to actually bring in real players, not just farmers? And so this was the first time somebody looked at the full game and said, hey, you got a fun game here. You just need that extra edge, and we'll help you get there. So it was a good conversation.
That's awesome, man. So what is this going to allow Dark Table to become, hopefully?
I mean, it's ironic because it's called Dream Catalyst, but it really could be the catalyst that Dark Table needed to get to the next level, where, we needed a little bit of funding, but really the marketing support and just the expertise of the Uprising team as a publisher helping us along the way for our go-to-market is huge. I mean, they cover everything, like how to fix your social media, how to set up your Discord, how to get better engagement for all of your stuff. And it's like just stuff that you wouldn't know unless you were in, the marketing industry. And so super helpful. And that, that's basically setting us up for a good launch. And hopefully that's the only thing that we needed now, that last bit of funding and push to be able to, scale the game. We want this game to be able to scale this year and really start taking over the card gaming genre.
Mm-hmm. So Somnia Chain, how's that going to benefit Dark Table? It sounds like it's going to be a really good thing.
Sure. So, I mean, there's a few aspects, right? Speed and cost for the chains. A lot of the EVM chains are very slow. And so what you'll end up having is, if you're getting a lot of transactions per second for some reason, then you'll have some bottlenecks on the speed, which could cause lag on, on responses in the game if you're relying on those transactions. And so, one aspect could be in-game marketplaces. Say you have 1 million players and there's a lot of traffic on the in-game marketplace. Like, can that EVM chain keep up with that? Or are you going to see like some severe lag time between transactions and purchases and, waiting for that to show up in your inventory and all this stuff? Part of it is, I mean, that'll just break immersion for a player if they have to wait for everything all the time to show up. But then the other side of that is having a really quick response in an in-game market, where if I want to be able to, potentially buy, sell, trade quickly to catch whatever, price dips I see to get a card or whatever, at a good price, I need to be able to respond quickly.
Nice.
And, so that's how the speed helps you. But then the gas cost, typically, everyone usually pays for gas fees in a lot of transactions.
Sure.
But the way of the future, or the way of present now, is most game studios want to be able to cover the gas for all transactions so that you don't have to pay that. And it's also just not a nuisance that you have to go fill a wallet, with currency to do a transaction. And so it's so having cheap gas means it's a lot easier for the studio to just sponsor all the transactions, and then the player doesn't have to pay the gas fee, and everything just happens behind the scenes without them, caring.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, that sounds really cool. Because of this, are there going to be some upgrades? There's upgrades that are happening to Dark Table because of this new partnership and everything like that. Is that right?
Yes. It's going to be like a brand new game.
Awesome.
It's severe upgrades, like AAA level polish on a lot of the visuals and the networking.
Okay.
So, basically all the user interface is getting a facelift. The card art, we had a lot of placeholder art in there early that was either speed painted or some AI generation in there, and all of it's getting upgraded now with our illustrator. So he's going back and redoing all those assets. So the art's going to look way better on all the cards as well. We have lighting experts that we got hooked up with from Uprising. They're currently in the game fixing all the lighting in the levels. And I mean, you wouldn't imagine how much lighting does for the visuals of the game. I mean, it's well, actually, you can imagine.
You
can. But somehow it makes everything look like it has more depth, and just like.
So I just watched this video, and I haven't implemented this yet, but and this is total sidetrack, but they call it shadow side filming to give it a more cinematic look. So right now the lights are coming this way, but I'm recording from this way, but the light should be coming from this way. That way it's recording shadow side.
Oh man.
And it, you know what I mean? So it's like little things like that. So I would imagine that like for Dark Table, it's going to be like little polish like that, you know, that's really, because it's like the difference really is like huge.
It's huge.
Like I was like, oh wow, because they'll show like, you know, somebody, this is what it looks like here, and they'll move the light around, and it's like, yeah, it looks so much better.
It's weird because I mean the poor lighting actually made the whole scene look flatter. And then once it was like well lit, it almost feels like deeper. And
that's awesome.
It's cool. I mean, it looks I don't know, more like a realistic, like high fidelity scene now. So everyone's going to see the quality difference as soon as they play.
All right, so lighting, that's one thing. Card
art, user interface, and then
when you say user interface, what are we talking about here?
So user interface is all of the like buttons and text, everything on the main menu to navigate to you know, your shop, your deck builder, all those buttons and text that's all over the screen. That's your user interface that the user touches.
Interfaces with. Yeah.
And some of that, they call it UI, UX. So it's user interface and user experience. And so can you improve the flow of the game to make it easier for people to understand? That's all being upgraded. And then also the bigger one is dedicated servers.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, because what was it before? You know, how was it running before? What is the new upgrade, and how is that going to change things?
So it was peer-to-peer originally, just because of like time and cost. It's the easiest thing to do, you know, first.
Sure.
And so we had that in early access as peer-to-peer. And basically the downside was you're at the latency, you know, kind of the host of the game. So if they have bad internet, then everybody in the game, you know, experiences that.
Okay.
And so you could see some lag between those things. But then the bigger problem was if the host disconnected, the whole game died.
Oh, wow.
So that's like, you know, the bigger problem. Once we go to the dedicated servers, if somebody leaves, doesn't matter. The game continues. Just that person gets, you know, kicked off the table. So that's huge.
So a dedicated server mean like somewhere off site, there's like this, you know, cloud server or something like that, like Amazon web hosting or something similar to that.
Yeah.
That's handling the, We're
going to cloud host it. It's through PlayFab, Microsoft PlayFab, and that's what we use for a lot of stuff. You know, we love PlayFab. But yeah, it'll make it easier for the whole disconnecting, but then it also does, you really need servers for cheat prevention as a bigger thing. So if you're going to go into tournaments and you know, competitive play at some point, you need to have a dedicated server that has authority over what's happening in the game. If you do it peer-to-peer, people can hack it.
Oh, okay. So you were saying cheat prevention?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there any like limitation, you know what I mean, now when it comes to servers or anything like that? Like it sounds like this is what you need to take it to that level where, you know, what would be like the like a Magic the Gathering or something like that, you know, like that many players and things like that, but now it's online and it's 4 players.
Yeah, I mean it's always easier to scale when you have servers, but really it's the experience. Like if you lag less and you don't have issues disconnecting from games, like those are the things that make a player never come back.
I see.
You know what I mean? So the better you make that experience overall, the more likely you are to keep that player engaging in the game and staying there.
Yeah. So you've had recently you've had some pro players streaming while they're playing the game. Is that right?
Yes.
Let's hear a little bit about that. How'd that go? Like, how'd you set that up and how did that go?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been talking with some of the pros for a while, like over a year, you know, trying to get them interested in the game and, you know, get their feedback and what they thought about it. And so we ended up getting 5 of them to play Dark Table. And we wanted specifically players from different card games. Pro players.
So these are pro players from other collectible card games. Okay.
So like either, you know, Grandmaster or, you know, world finalists from different games, from Hearthstone, from Yu-Gi-Oh, from Marvel Snap, from Parallel.
And I think it's really important to clarify right now because, you know, if you hadn't watched the prior podcast, that all of these games that you're referring to now are 1 player versus 1 player because Dark Table is the first 4 player, up to 4 players collectible card game. Is that right?
That's right.
All right. So yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted,
No,
but I
no,
wanted
it's
to
a-
make sure everybody was like clear that like that Dark Table is the first 4v4.
Well,
Because
that is four-player free-for-all.
yeah.
And that was what they were interested in, because all these pro players, you know, they're also content creators. They got to make engaging content for people to follow them and watch or whatever. And that was one of our goals with Dark Table, is can we make more engaging content for a pro player or a streamer? And so one of their biggest complaints with those 1v1s you're talking about was that it was super hard to make engaging content because you're talking to yourself.
Okay.
You're not talking to another player because there's no incentive to do that with another player, because you're just trying to fight each other to the death.
Yeah.
So you just end up talking to yourself on stream, and you got to try to be like excited and happy. And you're just talking to yourself, and you're trying to explain like all your moves you're doing while you're thinking about what you're doing and all this, right? So, and then just to get your chat to engage with you. Whereas the 4-player side of everything, now you can just have straight up conversations with the other players at the table, because there's incentive to do it, because I want to screw over somebody. So I'm going to alliance with somebody else. And then it, you know, you get all these antics between each other. And that's what they were excited about originally. And so the question was, can we get them into a game, and does it play out that way when they actually, you know, try it and record it? Like, do we see the social aspect of it?
Yeah.
And so if you watch the videos, I mean, you do. So it turns out it works as intended.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious. Everyone tries to screw each other over. You know, friendships are broken, and that's the whole point.
That was one of the things that I noticed from when we had talked before, was the potential like teaming up with other players and stuff like that. And I remember I watched the videos, and I remember seeing like the discussions about that and everything like that. It was really cool.
Yeah. So we had them play 2 separate games because we had 5 people. So we swapped one in, but I mean, awesome players. It was Baby Bear, John Bray, Tyler. We had Lambie and D Money in there. And I mean, you'll see they're pro players from games. They're well known in the card gaming world, and they just had a great time.
That's
and
cool.
it helps that they knew each other too, because it was even funnier, like, you know, them engaging with each other.
Yeah.
But I think it was a great proof of concept of where we want to go, in especially, you know, that high level of competitive play, which is, you know, yes, there's going to be casual players for sure, but can a competitive player still have fun? And would they be interested in playing tournaments in this style of a game? And the resounding answer was yes from that community.
Well, you just brought up something, tournaments. Like, so, you know, that's something that you're looking at as well. Like you're or like having actual tournaments.
Right.
Like, go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, so we want to have a lot of variety of tournaments just to keep it fun and like have lots of, you know, events for players to engage with. And so one of them is going to be, we brought out these world chests that are basically not loot boxes, but, you know, they're boxes of aesthetic items you get in the game. The majority of which are going to be gold and holographic cards that you collect.
Wow.
And we want to tie tournaments to those. So if you have a full deck of gold cards or a full deck of holographic cards, then you can compete in a regular tournament for that style.
Yeah.
And get it, you know, cash prizes for those tournaments. And so if we did a bi-weekly or weekly tournament for gold decks, and if you have one, you just play, and if you place in the top, you win, you know, a prize.
Yeah. And what, so what's the timeline now? You know what I mean? Like, what is the timeline to, kind of get it where you want it to be?
Yeah. So I think, we're here in end of March, right? We think by mid-May, we should be able to be on testnet with most of our visual upgrades in, if not all. Have the world chests in there with golden holographics, and you know, be ready for people to earn those. Maybe not tournaments yet on that, and then have that be basically our closed alpha right there, and start getting people in to play test at that point. Working into probably around like a June, July open beta once our servers drop. And that's where we'll really do our marketing pushes around that time, followed by more of the tournaments, and not only the golden holographic, but we'll eventually do invitational tournaments as well for pro players.
Okay. So, socials right now, like what do you have for socials? Like, Twitter, Discord? Like, where can people find information about Dark Table?
Yeah, obviously the biggest one's going to be the Discord. Discord/Dark Table CCG, and that's going to get you, into our community, and all the links to everything else is there. They can also just go to our website, darktableccg.com, and that has the links to everything right at the top as well.
Genre-wise, what is Dark Table considered, and what is the outlook when we're talking about like breaking genres?
Sure. So Dark Table, obviously it's a card game, but depending on the platform, they might label that as, strategy or turn-based strategy or, all that. But it's a collectible card game, more like, a Magic or a Yu-Gi-Oh, something like that. And really what we tried to do was break the genre. And what we mean by that is, we were big fans of Blizzard in their early days. And when they made games, they set out to completely break a genre by making the best game of the genre.
Blizzard was a game studio,
Another
right?
game studio, yeah. Big.
Okay.
They made World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, big, giant games. But they set out to, every time they're going to make a game, they want to make the best of the genre and redefine the genre.
Okay.
And that's what we're kind of trying to do with Dark Table here, which is, everybody else was a 1v1. We're going to do 4-player. Everyone else doesn't allow, all Web 2 card games don't allow trading or selling of the cards in the game.
Well, that's interesting because that's
That's a huge.
this is huge.
It's a collectible card game. In real life, card games,
big, yeah.
Everybody trades and sells cards.
Yeah.
And you take it out of your online card game.
Are they? Well, the question is, so in that situation, are they still somewhat popular? Because if they are, that would be a good thing, because incorporating that would make it even better.
Right. They're still popular. There's still, some of them are, they're multi-million-dollar games. If not, some of them are billion-dollar games. And they still, don't have that system in there to trade or sell their cards. Where it's like, obviously, on-chain games are doing that more now. Obviously, you can always, buy, sell, trade those items on an on-chain game. And that's what we're going to have as well. But our cross-collectible system is going to allow all platforms and all users to engage in the same in-game market, so they can all trade and sell with each other. So it's going to be huge. But then that's just, normal, like, players and markets. That's one side of it. The other side is, how do you make these games more fun to watch? It's like, all these card games are boring to watch. You're watching a 1v1 and it's just flat and it's, static on a screen basically, and some cards, move around the board.
Yeah.
So that's boring. We got big plans. I don't want to give too much away yet, because we're gonna phase it in. There's gonna be some, limited edition drops, later this year that everyone's gonna see, but we want to basically make it a whole new dynamic experience for the player, that they can affect not only the gameplay, but the visuals, the cutscenes, like the end game scenes as well.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there, but it's going to totally break the static feel of other card games and make it feel more like a Call of Duty or Mortal Kombat of card games.
Wow.
And really take it to a whole nother level of engagement, which will be fun for making content. It's going to be way more clippable, way more content. People will be collecting unique items that only they have, that they can show off in game, during these things. And so it's going to be really engaging to watch.
Well, it sounds really amazing, man. Congratulations on getting to this point. I've been there. I know like how this has all gone. To some extent.
Oh yeah.
So it's a really big deal, and congratulations, man. I know it's a very optimistic time for Dunamai and Dark Table.
Well, it's actually funny, right? It's like we were in a weird position where a lot of studios are imploding right now. I mean, like game industry's tanking. A lot of studios are closing up. There was a lot of studios that, let's talk about this for a second, just token launches. Let's talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of studios took the old, VC money for doing tokens, and that backfired on a lot of them, where they ran out of runway. They spent the money,
Yeah, yeah.
And then they did not have a product that was ready to ship, and they did not think the market was ready for the token. So they just imploded and the company disappeared.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, okay, so, everyone lost their money on this stuff. And also the game died because they leveraged everything on this token launch. Where it's like, we are not doing a token right now. We want the game, to actually make money on its own. It needs to, have revenue of its own by being a normal game, not just, a token as the only way that the studio makes money. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not a long-term plan. It's not scalable.
That's huge.
So, so like, I think, that's where we differ, and we want the value to just be in the game. And so a lot of those studios imploded, and then we are basically untouched by that. We didn't take that money, so we're untouched by that whole issue.
Yeah.
We're untouched by the current gaming industry dying. And then we're part of this accelerator program that now gives us an edge over all of those people. So it's, it's a wild circumstance that we're in, where we could actually dominate the card gaming market here because of the right conditions at the right time.
A lot of times it is about timing. You know what I mean? Like, you can have a great product, but if the timing's not great, who knows?
For sure.
A great product will help during bad timing, but a great product helps really, really good when you have good timing.
Yeah.
So it's like, time will tell, but things are looking really, really good right now.
Yeah, agreed.
So let's go over one more time where people can find out about Dunamai, Dark Table, and your socials for those. So you have a website?
Yeah, so the best place is probably the website, darktablecccg.com. That has our trailer, has links to everything. It has a press kit, for writing any articles about the game and all that. And that'll bring you to the Discord as well. The Discord is also discord/darktablecccg. And that's going to be our, big community. It's going to be bringing in all these people from the Dream Catalyst program into there. And, everyone who finds the game now is going to be funneled in there. And we're going to try to, share the game with them, get them excited, and get them playing.
And you have a X account as well?
Yeah, we have a X also /DarkTableCCG. And then on YouTube, it's /Dunamai. So everyone can find those from the website too.
And then where can people look up Somnia, Dream Catalyst, and Uprising? Like, where could they get information about that if they wanted to kind of do a little bit of digging on that?
Sure. I mean, they all have their own websites, but you can find them on X as well at Somnia Network or Uprising Labs.
Okay.
And so those are good places to go grab some resources, and it'll have their latest announcements for all the programs as well.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations, man. This is a huge news, and yeah, man, I'm super happy for you. Yeah,
we appreciate it.
That's awesome, man.
It's always great being here.
And if you got any questions, let me know. Put them in the comments, and I'll ask Kyle, and I'll respond to those comments. But thanks for watching, and we'll have more sometime soon. Bye.